Well, thank you for joining this light cleaning and repair of a Raketa Perpetual time watch from the Soviet Union. This is kind of an exclusive for friends and family. It doesn't really belong to Tootsietoy Restoration, but it's kind of a fun thing. I bought this a couple years ago. You can see there at the top it's got the different days in English. At the very bottom it actually has years from 1980 to 2000. And you can see it runs. You can see the second hand there. But does it run very well? Oh dear, something important just fell off. Maybe I can just stick it back on. No. So that's something we're going to have to repair. And of course, you don't want to let that fall onto the floor. So I used my body up against the bench to protect it from falling on the floor. No expense was spared here. So first of all, we have to take off these wristbands. And I'm using a tool that I have that removes watch hands. But it's got a little forked end on it, and that works pretty well here. So that came off easily. Now I gotta get this back off. And you see there on the bottom, it's got this, looks like a divot, looks like somebody took a chisel. And maybe they did, but that's actually how the watch is. And maybe over the years people tried to open it and damaged it more and more. But it looks like somebody took a chisel to it. Here I've seen this on on watch channels. They use a piece of wood to clean some of the nooks and crannies. So I was going to use this tool here, and I thought, what am I doing? So I put that down. And I finally got this X-Acto knife that had a broken off tip. And I just kind of wedged that in there, see if I could get something. Because there wasn't a lip. Usually on these there's a lip someplace that, it's made for this, that you can pop it up. Nothing doing here. So I'm working on this, and kind of, you can see here, you can see where I can put that. There's a little opening. Here, you can see it a little better now. See that? Now that's the under edge. That's the bottom edge of the back of the watch. That's not a special opening. So forget any water resistance here. Just give it a try here. Cool. At least it's easy to find. And it's kind of weird working on this watch like this. It's like open heart surgery. That heart is sort of beating there as you're working on it. So I take my toothpick and I try to clean up some of the dirt and grime and stuff that's collected in there. And this is not good practice, because you're supposed to clean them in an ultrasound machine, and if you get some of that dirt in there, well, that'll really be bad. But I'm not good enough to undo this thing. Take the whole thing out. Well, I want to take this out because I think maybe I'll have to remove the whole inner workings of it. And you've got to pull out that pinion that sticks into the watch where you wind it up and that kind of thing. It's going to be one of those little buttons there. It's going to be a screw maybe. Take a little bit of dirt off of that screw. There we go. So I got to go watch a video on this, and I did, and then I forgot to video it, but here it is, that little pinion. I've pulled it out. And it's pretty dirty, and it looks pretty bad. really interesting. interesting. Now here's the other side of that one that fell off. And you can see those little teeth there, and those little teeth grab that ring. So you can turn it round and round. So I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get that in there? I mean, it popped off. Maybe I could use this toothpick as a wedge. So I'll wedge it in there and then try to push it on or screw it on. Or when I brought it up, it looked so dirty. See that little O-ring on that, little rubber O-ring? That's a delicate little thing. It's probably from the 1980s. So I'm just going to kind of clean it off, and that's not really getting it clean. And well, how am I going to hold on to this thing? I mean, it's just a tiny little thing. It goes zipping across my work area. So I'm going to take these surgical tweezers, but nah, that's not going to work because it's going to damage that O-ring. So I'm not going to clamp that down. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I can just use the toothpick. Then I got a bright idea about a brass brush. Well, maybe I didn't get the idea quick enough. A little stubborn. There we go. Brass brush. And just lightly, just across there. And that cleaned it up very nicely. A bit tedious. But it worked fine. It worked fine. And this is the first time I've used this watchmaker's magnifying glass that I've got and strapping a camera to it, but it does give a nice effect. It does allow you to see at such a small level to really follow what's going on. So who knows, I might do this more in the future. Now there's some parts of this thing that I couldn't really clean with that brass brush around the O-ring. I didn't want the O-ring to get damaged by the brass brush, so I did go back to the toothpick, get a little bit of cleaning there. And that's been a couple minutes of the video, just cleaning this dumb thing. But it's necessary. And so now we can get back to wedging this. So you wedge the one side and hope that I can click it on, or sometimes these things, they screw on, they don't go righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, they go the other way, so I gotta kind of mess with it. Does it go on? I don't want to push it too hard, so I push it, no, that's not really working, so I'm gonna do a lefty-tighty here. If I can grab that thing again and wedge it again. And that's not going to work, so it just goes on in a normal, like a normal screw. There we go. And you'll see it tighten down. That's great. Now, I could have taken out the whole workings, pulled that thing out, cleaned it all. I don't know. It's a little scary. Does it work? Let's see. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Look at the bottom there. The years are zipping around just like new. You can see there Raketa, but that's, you say Raketa. It's Cyrillic, so that was a little confusing when I first saw this brand. Now we'll clean this one off too. A little bit with a brass brush and then the microfiber, and we're going to stick this thing back in. Let's make sure it's clean here around the hole. That right there is not dirt, it's just worn away chrome, I guess, from where it was on the brass. Let's stick this in there. Get it in there, and you got to push down on a little button right. get it set here so we didn't go flipping around. There's a little button there, right there. Push that down, it goes in. Yeah, there we go. And now it pops in. Sometimes it's a screw, sometimes it's a little lever you push down on. There we go. And that works. Now we got to set the date. Today's the 27th. It's King's Day in the Netherlands. And I would never have figured out how to do that if I hadn't seen a video. And here we go. Pop, pop. And you just pull out that thing and you can see the days. And it would have been quite a while before I figured that one out. Now everything's working fine, and looks good. Now we're going to polish it up a little bit. And it won't make any difference. This is the inside of that, the backing. Won't make any difference, but gives me a good feeling that it's cleaned up. It looks better. Never see it again. Now I'm going to put this thing back on there, and you need to give it some good pressure. I couldn't really get it here, so I took it off camera and I put a cloth around it, and that allowed me to get a little bit broader pressure on it, and it popped right in. And as we know, this is not water resistant because it's got that hole there, but it went down okay. It'll be, I'm not going to wear it in the shower. And I'm going to clean this one up too. So it looks a little bit nicer. The crystal there is not crystal, it's acrylic or something, but that's being replaced somewhere along the line. And it has no scratches on it, so that looks good. It was a good little watch, about 39 millimeters across. Maybe slightly small for modern standards. Usually you would see 40 or 40 to 45. But I've got a pretty big wrist, and it doesn't look strange on it at all. And it's got nicks and dings and all that kind of stuff. But in spite of that, it shines up. The chrome that's still on there. And here we go. We got my little special tool there. We'll put the watch band back on. Oh, a little bit of cleaning up there. Missed a couple things. And there you go. It's the Raketa, the space rocket from the Soviet Union, 1980s. And she's working again. Thanks so much for watching.